Pastor Troy right here on the doc.org. I wanted to do that like Casey Kasem, and this is the countdown starting right here. Top 40 right here on the doc. I always wanted to do it that way. I just wanted to try it. On the doc with Pastor Troy here, Tuesday and Thursday. So you think I could do? Think I'd be a top countdown 40 artists? American Troy, top 40.
Troy, the sky's the limit for you. You can do anything you set your mind to.
I was thinking this when I do this, I do like an audition, so that I could use this as my audition tape. You know, this is Pastor Troy here on the doc.org every Tuesday and Thursday. We're ready to go here, pumping out your favorite hits. Go get it with number 40 on the hits. I could do it. I don't know. I think I could. I better stick with conversations to propel your faith out of the shallows and into the deep. Yeah, stick with what I'm good at. We're going to be we're hanging out here around this cottonwood table here, fired up from On the Dock. You loved our song here, you sing On the Dock of the Bay, our version of it. Yes, and we're going to get out there and we're going to talk about some great things today and push your faith out. We're going to get you out of there, get out of here. All right, there you go. On the Dock, we're at YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Facebook, Roku, Rumble, SermonNet, and Google Play. I got Google Play dropped out of there. I had to kind of figure out what I missed. Then you can check us out at social media. We've got 5 social media platforms. Get on there. You can be critical, but just don't be nasty. We'll cut you. I'll cut you. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Telegram, Getter. We want to hear all about it. You can find out more about what's going on with Johnny Wicoff, our guest today. You can find out how to link to his music. You can be critical. You can go, well, I don't like the guy's jacket, but I think his jacket's cool. His shoes match. They look awesome. He could easily be the next captain of the Enterprise. So easily. But
I just need Lucas to save the soundbite of you saying, "I'll cut you."
Megan does that all the time.
Turn it into a meme.
Megan, my daughter, says, "I'll cut you."
Good ringtone.
Yeah, and if you don't like Ben's like hat, what do you call that thing? Winter hat. If you'd like it a different shade, we would like to hear about that on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Telegram, and Getter. But we'd also, more important, like you to subscribe, hit like, notify, share with other people, and just, hey, let other people know about the show here and what's going on. We'd love to have you as a Patreon partner. Go to our Patreon, download, and check out our site on the dock. And we have 4 levels of partnership, 3 levels of sponsorship, and we would love to have you as a part of the show. Go find out more about that. And if you just can't do anything of that, go to onthedock.org, find all of our platforms, find all of our links. Email us at info@onthedock.org. And Donna, our executive director, would love to get back with you. Our executive producer would love to get back with you and help you get more out of the show. So we're on the dock again. You've got your incredible leader here, Pastor Troy Bennett. There's my dressage. I never use my picture. So yeah, I made mine furry, kind of fuzzy, so I look better. I got it blurry. Ben, yeah. Ben, you're blurry.
No, I respect
you're
you.
blurry too. I mean, golly, we got to get you some better shots.
And that was before Dan Lopez really had the experience.
I know. And then we have on camera and on mic Lucas Winkler, our executive.
Hello, everybody.
Techno wizard.
It's me. It's Lucas.
He's doing over, and he's got. I called for a sound effect in the last show, and he gave me a sound effect. He's got him today. I hear that one a lot these days. Yeah. We're on the dock, Worship Leaders Southern Illinois series, and on the dock Season 2 Super Series. We have been doing about 8 or 9 of these worship leaders across Southern Illinois, different churches, different aspects, different things they're involved in. And we've got with us for part 2 of that discussion, Johnny Wicoff from Southern Illinois. He's right out here. You're a resident. You say Carterville?
Carbondale.
Yes, sir. Carbondale. Golly.
Hometown.
He's one of them people from Jackson County.
Mm-hmm.
We in Williamson County. He's in Jackson County.
Where's that sound effect?
No, not that one. No. That's for Jackson County. You're from Jackson County.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Yeah, you move across the line from Williamson to Jackson. It's like you're in Chicago as far as we're concerned. You step into the twilight zone.
Oh my gosh.
Southern Illinois Christian rock and a worship recording artist. He's been involved in all kinds of music and bands. Worships in his church. One of the guitar players at what was formerly called Southern Illinois Worship Center. That's now Purpose Church.
Purpose House.
Oh, Purpose House.
I gotta get there.
Okay, Purpose. I had a big one, and I was trying to glance on his Purpose. Let me check again.
You even look down.
I'm gonna repeat this. Lucas does not need to edit this, but I'm gonna get it right so the soundbite will be right. So because Jason, the pastor there, he'll want a better soundbite. Pastor Troy from On the Dock just wants to say we're so excited about the former Southern Illinois Worship Center, now named Purpose House. Can I get an amen? Thank you, Jesus. Johnny, you're a guitar player there as well?
Yes.
Grew up in the church there, worship team, on the worship team, on the platform. Been a part of the youth worship teams in the past. Have your own music out now?
Yep.
You've played with other bands?
Yep.
I've seen you for years playing with people. You get hustled a lot to play. People call and say, I need a guitar player.
It's fun. You know, I tell you what, when people give you a call, it's like, hey, I've never played with half these people. Let's do it. And usually it's a really good experience.
Tell me who calls you the most. Is it a Lopez or a Benetone or an Alini? Lopez. So when you see the Lopez number ringing in, do you let it go to voicemail?
Yeah, I just cancel it.
Cancel.
No.
No. Ben was smarter. Ben told me what he does is spammed it. He spammed it. Yeah, he spammed
dude. But there's no satisfaction in saying decline. Then you
can't. No.
That's not the same. But yeah, no.
So, but you get a Lopez call every now and then. Okay,
I answer.
No. Look, we call the Lopez's a lot too, and they answer for us. Amen.
Indeed.
We thank God for it.
I love.
Let me just say this to you. I love how all of you guys work together so much. I am so impressed. In general, I've had times in areas where pastors. I'm a pastor in this area. I've got a handful of 3. I can think of 3 or 4 pastors that I've got all their numbers, but I know the ones that will answer my phone call.
Yep.
First ring, second ring. If they didn't answer, they're in a meeting, they're going to call me right back. I know who they are. And gosh, if our church were to burn down tomorrow, they would let me have church in theirs or loan us anything and vice versa.
Yeah.
And Jason's one of those pastors that will answer my phone call, and he's one of the busiest guys on the planet.
Yeah,
and the fact is, when I need him, he's been there and vice versa. And so I appreciate the relationship with pastors who are available even when they're running Southern Illinois Worship Center, formerly Southern Illinois Worship Center, now called Purpose House. Purpose House. Okay, so I know he's busy doing all that renaming stuff, but I love the fact that he's been available when I really needed him. There are a handful of pastors in this community. Lori from CLC, Michael Newbert. There are pastors out there that when I call, they'll answer. When I call them, they call me. We answer. You guys have a huge network of. You call?
You answer.
I like that.
Anyways.
But there's a huge network of you guys that really support each other, provide for each other, connect, and are there when you've got crisis or emergency needs in the worship. And I think that is fantastic. I mean,
I've called guys literally last minute because I was sick or something.
And I know that happened with you, Ben. Remember?
Totally.
This last couple months ago, I was like, we had something planned, and I had some COVID exposure. I'm like, Ben, could you do it? And you're able to do it.
Jesus, Cass.
Yeah, more than once I've turned around and on my Sunday morning and turned around and there's Dustin Griffin from West Monroe Apostolic on my keyboards. Man. And to get him unannounced, it just runs my whole week. I mean, it's like I've got to slum it. I've got the best keyboardist player that can play behind me and get me more fired up than anything you've ever said. And the reason I'm upset about it is because I didn't eat enough food that morning to kind of have the energy I needed to match the keyboards that would be behind me. Let me just tell you, Dustin's fantastic to play with. I mean, just fantastic. So, I mean, I get that.
You're preaching to the choir.
And I'm looking around and like, Ben says I can't be there, but I'll have somebody there. And I turn around and you got another star worship leader behind you, or somebody he's brought in from St. Louis or our friend that he's got here. Or you look around and our drummer's gone. And then you look over there and Daniel Lopez is in the cage. I really appreciate that about Southern Illinois is that you guys have each other's back. Ben called me and said, hey, worship leader up here. And, he's got wife had something happen, can I run up and lead worship there and abandon you? And I said, of course you can abandon me. Because the one thing I know about him, he's got depth here. He's got other people. He said, I'll get it covered. I love the fact I like the fact there's a network here that has each other's back.
I would rather have positive relationships with other worship leaders than competition.
I think
makes sense.
And
we're on the same team.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's the thing. We're on the same team.
And the pastors I have that kind of relationship get that. But not all pastors do. There's a lot of pastors really guarded. They're like we on every one of these series, on all of our pastor series, normally I would fully plug their church service ahead of ours. Like when we did Life Source, we just fire it out there, talk about it. I tell people why they should go there and not go to our church. I don't need you to go to Community Faith. We would like you to go to Community Faith if you'd like to, but we need you in the kingdom. And every church, Purpose House has its purpose. Community Faith Church has its purpose. Life Source has its purpose. This church and that church has their purpose. Help us figure that out. Let's work together. Let's get the right people in the right places, in the right seats on the bus, and the bus will get going. So that's what I really like about that. I think you got something good. So tell us a little again. You're single. You've got a worship. You got a band. You got a team that works around you. Or you're doing your own stuff. Who plays with you? Just yourself.
Right now. It's been my friends, honestly, that we've played music together for years, and they've played with me for a long time.
Do you have to give them pizza or something like that? Do you have to give them a burrito?
I like to get them food and like to pay them when I can.
There you go. That's where
I want to pay them a lot, but I can't.
I know, but if you can give a friend like a one of those like microwave burritos, and he'll play for you, that's a friend.
Don Taco goes a long way.
I love Don Taco.
Don Taco goes a long way.
Oh man, that's you know what? I take back the womp womp about Jackson County just because of Don Taco.
Well, let me just say, Don Taco is not an advertiser for My Patreon for On the Dock, so be careful talking about them. But we'd love to have you call our people, info@onthedock.org. Talk to Donna; she'll put you right through, unlike we would for that certain person that leads worship at Purpose House. He'll have to go through a little bit of a phone tree to get to me because, well, I'm offended.
Should Donna start an alternate version called Donna Taco?
Donna Taco. Yeah, Donna's going to love that when she listens to the show. Donna, make sure you plug for us. This young man, Johnny Wicoff, make sure you plug Facebook. His Facebook site is Johnny Wicoff Music on Facebook.
Sir.
What are we going to see on as that develops? That site's developing.
So you'll see, obviously, news of new music, new content, shows, things like that, as well as just some fun things that will hit from the creative side of whether it's just a cool riff I came up with or an idea.
Look at this one. Last one. This is for Christmas time. Carol of the Bells. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
I listened to a clip on it.
Thank you.
I will go spend money and download it on Spotify or iTunes soon.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
As soon as I get Ben's credit card, I'm going to do it.
Dude.
I thought you were waiting for another sponsor.
I am. If we get another sponsor for My Patreon, we're going to buy the whole album. He didn't have the album out yet, but you're working on an album record?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
You're just trying to negotiate with Lucas to see if you can actually get it produced? You know.
No, yeah.
Are you self-producing? You got people working with you?
I've actually been really fortunate to have God's really connected me with some awesome people down in Nashville. And
oh, that's right. You go to a church that's got real connections. All of our connections come through Lucas.
Oh, man.
No, you're blessed with nothing but talent around you on almost every Sunday. So it's just really cool. Now, you're on the platform at a church that's got some very gifted worship leaders.
Absolutely.
Just kind of tell me, what's a Sunday look like for you? And not just what does the Sunday look like, but how do you get to Sunday?
Yeah.
So when do you find out what you're going to play? Who makes those decisions? Who put the wardrobe on you for the Carol of the Bell? When y'all did the what was the Christmas thing called?
Okay, You Shine.
You shine. I thought it was great. You were great in that.
Thank you.
Who puts the wardrobe on you? Who told you what to wear? Give us a little bit of behind the scenes. Go behind the scenes of Purpose House.
Yeah. So typically you get songs about a week or so in advance, something around
1
there.
week in advance.
That's generally what we run. Sometimes it's more than that.
Okay, listen. Our last guest, we're not going to say who it is, Joshua Corrales at Life Source Church. He said his worship person, he brought a co-leader, said they hope to get him the night before.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Have we done that? Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And will we continue to do that? Probably
No,
some?
I
It probably will
actually
happen.
really-
We wanted a confession. Now we
there's
got it.
Oh,
I really
you'll get it.
appreciate that you guys are that fluid.
That's something we've really worked
like-
on the last 6
yeah.
months. It was not always that way.
Okay, let me ask: Does your lighting program to the song, to the click, to the moment?
So that's all just done by manually right now.
So if you were to make a change, or the pastor comes up and says, "I love that, jump back in at the bridge and go get it again," can you do it?
From as a band?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
And everything happens.
Yeah, and the people back there will just let us know on the same page.
Okay, I did that at a church about 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And I was told between the first and the second service, don't ever let that happen again. Because when I did that to them, I didn't know they programmed everything was synchronized to
Okay.
the beat, including the lights. So when I asked them to jump back in, they couldn't figure out what to do. They couldn't put the track back on it, and they had to do it poorly, and it embarrassed them, and there could be no lighting, and it was horrible. And I was told, don't ever do that again, or you will never be invited back. And so I didn't do it again. And if it weren't, I'm not going to say who it was, but okay. But if he's my friend.
Just don't do it.
The guy's, I won't do it. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
I won't do it. You know how, I try to keep things quiet. Okay. If it weren't him, I would be saying it. Okay. But I got the hint. I didn't ask for it the second service. So there are quite a few churches out there you cannot do stuff like that for. You can do that at Purpose House.
We're very fortunate to have people that can flow and that just really great musicians.
It violates everything that all of us smaller church pastors think about former Southern Worship Center, now Purpose House, because y'all are the big church in this area. You guys are one of the larger churches, and you get those big, large churches. They have no control. They just got to play the song, But so you guys really are flowing. You're able to go where with it.
I feel like we more than we ever have.
I like that.
There's been a freedom. Honestly, it's been good too because we had 3 services for a long time, for like 9 years.
So now you don't care.
And now there's no timer. It's like, hey, we have generally what we're gonna do, but hey, God's Spirit, take it. That's really where we're at as a church. Like, just Lord, invade the service, take the service. We have a plan, do it.
Beautiful.
And yeah. So, I mean, and so you see, like going back to your question, about how like usually the weekends we get the music, come in on a Tuesday night, practice.
So you practice on a Tuesday night?
Yep.
Do you practice any on the Sunday morning that you're doing it?
Yeah. So
like a tune-up more?
Yeah, it's like we'll run through everything and make sure everything's good. And then something we've done it as a team, which I say this, we can never stop doing this, and we just take 15 minutes and we just go pray around the building.
That's
and
cool.
Just pray. I pray over the seats, pray over the people that are coming in, and
we take about 15 minutes as well now. But,
it's awesome.
But we get together and have our own personal worship. We do at least one song.
It's good.
And we share something personally amongst the group and get a chance, because that's not just the people in the worship team, but everybody that's in the building.
It's awesome.
Whether it's children's pastor, nursery, we have everybody come in so that if you're busy that Sunday, you at least got a chance to be ministered to.
That is great.
And so we've been doing that for about 2 years now. We came up with that on one of our retreats, and I think it's been one of the best things we've done.
And if that, like,
and we pray for the service.
Yeah, no, and that's what it does too. It postures your heart, right? And it also invites God, and
it gives me a chance to hear like our children's pastor, who maybe hung out to dry for the next 3 weeks and we won't see her, but every week at least she gets to be in the worship center and gets a chance to hear a scripture put up and gets a chance to worship together with us.
Absolutely,
so it kind of puts our heartbeat in sync, so to speak. I think that's great. So you guys are you able to do that now where you couldn't do it when you're doing 3 worship services and you're just trying to race from service to service?
I mean, we just weren't. Yeah, and also time we weren't able. We started that once we got in the new building and shortly after.
Think of all the money their church saved on the green room, because they would have had to have a green room between all those services. You need someplace to go eat. You need M&Ms. You need stuff, and they would, because they don't want to hear this. They don't want to hear Jason preach 3 times, as good as he is. I don't want to hear him 3 times. I would just, twice is cool. But so I could see before you had this huge green room bill. Lots of coffee had to be drank. Lots of tea had to be drank. And now with just having one service, you guys can get just connect right in.
Yeah, because they would have food and stuff there for us, which was really always really nice.
But it's not wash, rinse, and repeat. Wash, rinse, repeat. It's just one cycle,
one service, giving it everything 100%.
Are you enjoying that?
I am enjoying.
It'll be hard to go back.
And hey, obviously, like, generally, like, it'd be great to get to the point where we have to get.
Yeah, because of growth.
Because of growth.
Absolutely. But it's been nice.
I've been enjoying just giving everything we got. And then that's the one service.
So about a week ahead of time, you're working on music, but something could change if it was late.
Oh yeah, in a lot of times things will like a lot of times it's like, okay, we're going to another song. Here we go. We've never played it, or like we've played it. We haven't rehearsed it. Just flow. And we have
cool.
It's a place as musicians. Luckily, we have everybody on the team where we can do that.
And what are you guys using for your lyrics, and what are you using for your team's communication?
Yeah. So for Pro Presenter is what we use for lyrics.
Right.
And for what's the other question? Sorry.
What are you using to communicate with each other?
As a band.
Yeah.
As a band, we have our music director has a mic and he'll communicate.
So
with
are you guys using in-ear?
Oh yeah, everybody's using in-ears.
And then as far as what you get your music on and the planning center, you guys use planning center.
Yep.
So Lucas, help us summarize, because he's like our 9th show. Ben will be our wrap-up show to this. What have we heard from the different worship leaders? What's being used? What's the plethora of stuff we hear being used?
Yeah, so for lyrics, most people use Pro Presenter. That's just kind of the standard. And it's been around for so long.
When you say like 7 to 9 of our people have been Pro Presenter, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, keep
most
going.
of them have. And then some of them use Easy Worship, because I think Easy Worship is actually free.
It's free. It's a little cheaper. So the others were using Easy Worship.
But it has very limited features. So some of the live streaming stuff you can't pull off.
But it was okay. If that's where you are, you could start with there and jump over here.
Right.
You couldn't tolerate it at this point. You'd freak you out. But
yeah.
But okay, and then what are they using to pass out? What are most churches doing to communicate with their band on what's being played and all that stuff?
Planning Center is the number one, because you can link it to Song Select. You can link it to.
We're trying to get them as advertising sponsors. You see what we're doing here, right? Yeah. Go ahead. Planning Center.
Planning Center is really the main thing, because you can use it church wide too. You can actually get everybody in your church on Planning Center.
Like I'm on it. I know what y'all are going to do.
Right, but I'm like, you could even use it for tithing. You can even use it for.
That's right. It's gotten bigger stuff.
Yeah, you can use it for your children's area to check people in and out, which we do use that at COF. And then otherwise, there's not really any other software that's great for that. Otherwise, people just use Facebook.
Pretty much a small group. If you're a static church where you're just using the same worship team, then you could communicate maybe the group message or something. Then what are you seeing? Is everybody pretty much using? You guys are using a wireless in-ear system?
So all the vocalists are using wireless in-ears, and then the band we're using Behringer S16s.
Who's directing? Who's talking back to you guys in the ears?
Corley, which is he's our keyboard player, and he's also the music director.
So, but he's not the worship leader.
Not the worship leader, but he's the music director.
So in our situation, a lot of times it's Ben or Shane or Amanda who's worship leading, or Don or somebody. So they're leading. In our situation, a lot of times it's Lucas in the background. Yeah,
but now Ben has me and Ben both have MD mics because I don't know where Ben's going half the
What's
time.
MD stand for?
Music directing.
Music director. So it's going to just talk inside the ears. Right?
Yeah.
All right, good.
Like usually bridge
or like a comment on what the pastor's wearing.
We just think it's good. It's good as we're doing this series. We want other worship people looking at hearing what are the standards, what are people using around here.
Sure.
What's interesting is you guys are using large. Are y'all? What kind of in-ear system are we using at Community? Is it
Behringer P16s?
Same thing.
Same thing.
We have some wireless.
It's pretty much the same thing as them. As we use Behringer P16s for the band, and then the singers get a wireless pack.
They get a wireless pack. So these are pretty standard right now in the area as far as this level. Yeah. Very cool. Very cool.
Stereo wireless packs.
So what kind of work is done between your preaching team, your ministry team, like myself or Jason and whoever's preaching the word for that week or that month or that series? What kind of collaborations happening at Purpose House between worship and maybe message, or theme, or like right now we're doing a series called For the Bible Tells Me So. I'm dating this right now, or we just came off our Psalms Volume 2 project. We're going to go finish up the 10th one in a few weeks here, and then we'll go to another series. So a lot of times our series can be 2 weeks, it could be 4 weeks, it could be gosh, we did one was like 12 weeks, longer than that.
Yeah.
So, and typically with that, we'll have, some continuity of graphics, continuity of bumper, continuity of countdown. Are you guys doing some of that as part of your whole planning?
Yeah. I mean, and I'm not as much on that side of things, but from my perspective,
right.
We tend to like the graphics, and that typically matches for the structure of the sermon series, or and then communication with the worship team or with Evan or whoever.
Is Evan who's your main worship leader? Is he working with the pastor team and working in developing series as well?
Yeah, and then I would say Corley is kind of heading that up a little bit more too. Right. But I think Evan is obviously he's the guy.
But you've got the guy. There is collaboration.
And Pastor Melissa, and there's definitely collaboration. I mean, yeah, absolutely collaboration.
Yeah, we don't make up stuff at the last minute either. Every now and then I panic a little bit and realize the series just ran out. We better start something else. but then. I think we've been really good. That's one thing we're really strong about, is at least talking ahead and going, hey, this is coming up, and just having some intentionality to it. Doesn't keep us from extending something.
Sure.
Doesn't keep us from going off and taking on something special that pops up. You know what I mean? I love the fact that you guys are still flexible to change. So tell me a little bit what goes into your other gig. Your other gig is you're doing your own worship. You're doing your own Christian rock stuff. You're doing some gigs here and there.
Yeah.
What's it look like when you get ready to put something together, your team there? How do you lead in that situation?
So, I'll have our guys. We typically play most of the same songs. Songs don't change a whole lot, especially if it's from a concert perspective instead of a worship perspective. It's a little different. If it's more of a concert perspective, we have our songs. We go through it, and we prep. We load all the gear up. Go in, set up. Takes a while to set up. Get everything rolling for that. If we're working with other bands, we'll work with other bands and get everything set up and figure out what we need to do from a logistics standpoint. And go out there, play it, do it. That's a really brief explanation of it, but that's.
Are you doing a lot of standalone stuff? Are you doing stuff often in times with revivals or some other preaching or special event? Both.
It's been more just events of like, hey, we want a Christian band to come play, and so we come in. They might have a short message, or it might be for like a festival. We did a lot of stuff in September with some festivals,
right.
And so that was cool. And I love getting to play with other artists. I just really enjoy that. About half the time we probably don't. The half time we probably do. So I love, like, we played with Dustin quite a few times. Lee Marie.
Okay, I saw that. Look at your Facebook page where you guys had done some events.
He's phenomenal to work with.
Yeah, and they did the show as well. So
yeah.
What are 3 or 4 things, maybe 5 things, just working on one of our lists here for this part of the show, is with your worship experience and being involved in worship teams over the years? What are some things we're trying to help people also, not just worship, we did the stuff here for worship leaders. What are things, things you're using behind the scenes? But now for people listening that just sit in the pew, people that just enjoy Johnny Wicoff music or would enjoy, want to find out about it. What are some things you could give them some hints for if you were coaching them and saying, look, what are some 3 or 4 things you could be doing in the pews, in the seats to help you better enhance your worship experience with us, connect as we worship together? See, my theory is, we have one in the audience, that's Christ. God the Father, he is the audience. Jesus Christ is our target. The Holy Spirit is kind of there to be with us. So Father, Son, Holy Spirit, we have an audience of one right there. And we all, the sad part is our worship platforms are built kind of like us are here and the people out here. So it feels like you're giving a concert to people in the pew, but in essence, you're leading the people in the pew for what should be one person in the seat. We just build our sanctuaries all wrong. We really should have worship front, and maybe the choir loft should be the people, and Jesus should just be sitting out in that sanctuary by himself. Kind of like like when you go audition for American Idol, you got one person out there. We could all just go hi God. We're all there to worship one thing. So it feels at times like worship teams performing, but they're not. They're really there to lead the church in worship. What are things you could coach those people in the pews to make them more effective participants in worship? Not just coaching them maybe active in worship, maybe as they come into worship, but also as they carry it out. What are some things that get on your nerves too, that you just say, please don't do this? It just runs the whole thing, man. It blows my mind. If you're out there picking your nose, it just throws me off. Or if you're out there and your child is screaming for the 3rd hour, So what are some things, or spiritually, what do you see, because there's a lot of distraction today. I know in our church, when things happen, there are certain people that are going to go to the bathroom every Sunday at the same time in pairs, and I have to tell you, I always notice how long it takes them to get out. And then one day they had a 3rd one. I thought, there's a 3rd. So in that time, I've lost a little bit of focus. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just a little bit. What are things that we could do? There are things that cause focus loss in there. So just give us some coaching. Coach the people out here. Talk to us.
I guess I would say, even when we're going into worship, once it's being intentional, right? If we don't feel like it, we do it anyway. We're gonna sing. But honestly, let the lyrics really focus on the lyrics, because we should be singing some biblical lyrics. So let that sink in, and let the music kind of soften.
That means you have to pick the right lyrics though too, the right songs.
Well, yeah, as that's part of our job as we do things.
Is to pick worship songs.
We're songs that are actually gonna be fitting for worship environment.
Yeah, I came out of a previous church and we had phenomenal worship at that church. But one of the problems was the worship leader preferred ballad type songs in a worship setting. The problem with ballad songs is they are written about somebody's personal worship. And they're not necessarily my lived experience.
Yeah, and I think there's a place for horizontal and what's the other one? It goes up. Vertical. There's a place I think for both, but I think, having, let's say, just a place of recognizing the lyrics in the song and be able to understanding what it is. But I think a lot of it's our attitude. A lot of it's our posture, right? If we're able to just be like, who we're actually praising, this is about God. This is not about the lights are right. It's not about they played the right song. Oh, I can't worship because they didn't play the right song. Because I've been, my preference is more modern worship styles, right? And so sometimes when I go to churches it's a little different. It's just different. Maybe it's more traditional,
right?
But I'm like, but guess what? I'm still praising the same God. Doesn't matter the song. Like, I'm still going to praise God the same way I would, right? It's because it's not about the song, right?
Yeah. Well, I used to fry Josh's gourd at our previous church because he said, well, Dad, 2 of the 3 songs today were ballads that somebody wrote as their own personal experience. It was a highly personal, intimate song they wrote, and while the song was done well, it didn't really invite people to come to the throne together to have an experience. We need to pick worship songs, so they always have that fight every week. We don't have that problem. I mean, Ben is an incredible leader to people to the throne of God.
Yeah.
So our songs I've really not seen that as a problem here.
Sure.
And those songs that are ballads, those are good for special performances.
Yeah.
If somebody's coming to do a solo, they're going to do a special piece. They're going to do a song that's reflective. That's where they belong, not as congregational led singing.
Yes.
So you've got to pick the right music, and what you're saying is intentional. Let the lyrics lead you. What else you got?
Just let the lyrics lead you. I'd say
You can be harsh. We can take it.
and this is more to like the congregation, right?
Right. You're giving them clues, things that would help, things that are hindering worship, things that would make it better. If you wouldn't do this, or if you would do this, or if you'd come prepared to do this, give them some coaching. You're getting a chance to speak with them without beating up people in your church. They're going to hear this vicariously.
Yeah, I mean, I think, not that like I said, if you're distracted by your phone, turn your phone off. Just even things like that. Like, don't have your phone out. Like, we're here for a reason. I mean, I don't know. That's kind of where I'm lying with it. I'm trying to. I know there's other things in my head.
Turn your phone off or put it down.
Put it down.
You don't have to film everything or videotape everything. I appreciate some of that, but I know we have people. I'll put a good graphic or a good quote or some statement up, and there's a few people that'll really quickly take a picture of the screen to capture the quote, and I think that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
It's like taking notes today. That doesn't bother me.
And also, there's something too. This is on a slightly different note of this, but it's something that's I've heard people say before. As worship leaders, sometimes we think people aren't responding. We might think that way just because we visually can't see it, but that doesn't mean they're not.
Right.
And because some people tend to be more expressive too, and some people are not as expressive. I like seeing expressiveness. I love that, but that doesn't mean guys are not doing anything. Because I've been to places where it's like everyone just looks like they're just staring at you. And it's like, but afterwards, it's like, oh man, that really, really blessed me. Thank you so much.
But I think people need to hear that though. You may be not expressive, and maybe that is your true style. If that's your true style, we don't want it to change. But your ability to be expressive helps other people know and connect.
It helps because that's something even as a church I've noticed at Purpose House that people have. There's a lot of people that are just coming down to the altar, and like, whenever you do that, that helps somebody else. Whenever you're raising your hand, that can help promote someone else. That's kind of what we do as worship leaders,
faith
right?
in the whole room.
It's the action, right? Because I think there's something about doing the action about whenever you're worshiping or whenever you're working through something. I've even heard one person they were telling me about a song about chains falling. It's like sometimes I would just shake things off, like, and it helped. It would kind of make that a deeper connection. I think I just think there's something about that, and it raises people's interaction. It can be. I don't know.
I think that's really good.
I think physical obedience brings forth spiritual breakthrough.
I like that.
I think
that's big stuff.
Because there's times even whenever I just feel like God's like, hey, you need to bow down to me.
Yeah, and
I do it because I know first of all I will never quench the spirit. I'm never gonna be the guy who's like, oh, I'm not gonna do that. Yeah, but I'm gonna do that because guess what? It's usually a very wonderful thing when that happens, and usually
When we were, I beat up on Joshua Corrales at Life Source because they use Facebook and that they get their songs maybe the night before. But let me lift him up. I love what he said though. He said that your worship can be a breakthrough for someone else. So sometimes you just need to realize lifting your hand or getting engaged or maybe having a better countenance on your face or engaging may be what somebody else gets. It raises the atmosphere in the room. Mm-hmm. And so rather than being just look like you've been baptized in lemon juice or you look like you've been petrified, what if you engaged a little bit and just lifted up, elevated the room, and it might elevate other people's experience of worship as well. Yeah. Pull people out. So other people can worship through you as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's letting you're worshiping the King of Kings too, and it's like, okay, wow, if we can kind of put this perspective, like I'm gonna raise my hand if I feel, just being involved. I think just being involved, being engaged, and sometimes just that physical engagement, I think helps also our mind get more connected to God and in essence our soul. We can. I
think those are some really good things that you're bringing forth. What do you think it's going to take to get we're going to need worship to power out of this situation. We talked about the first episode. I'm kind of changing the flow here. We talked about kind of the muck. You talked about in your core scriptural verses, Psalm 40, 1-5, out of the muck. And from out of that muck, a new song comes. For me, that muck was like quicksand. The world is full of quicksand, sinking sand.
Yeah.
And for me, the rock of God is all that we have. That's what's going to walk us out of this, something firm. That you use the song Firm Foundation as a credo song for you. Help people understand, what is it going to take people to move from kind of spectator to participant. We have a lot of people that come to church, they come to a purpose house because it's one of the biggest shows on the planet here. I mean, you've got biggest sanctuary, it's new, got fancy bells and whistles, you've got killer worship, it's the place to go, but just going to the place to go doesn't get you to the place you need to be.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So just to show up to say, I went to Purpose House, that's not enough.
No, it's not.
What do you want to see people? What do you want to see, whether you're leading worship with Johnny Wicoff music or where do you want to see people move from just experience to being in it? How could you pull people in there? How would you coach people? How important is it that people get their own groove on?
Part of what I'm going to say is whenever you do go through that muck and the mire, you need it.
Yeah.
You need it. And so, I want to see the altars full. I want to see people getting healed. That's what I want to see. And, I'm the person of very much like, this is where I want to see, because I believe God can do these kind of things. And we invite God's presence in, and his presence should be so strong that people just start getting nothing. No one has to go pray for anybody. People just start getting healed. People just feel compelled to drive by, and then people just walk in and get healed. That's where I'm after. Like, we don't even need like a deaf ministry. I believe God can do stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And
but you also believe the worship creates the momentum toward those ministry experiences.
because we're focusing in on God. We're focusing on what he can do as his power and in our lives.
I haven't showed this in all the episodes, but I'll bring up the sine and cosine waves because I haven't done that in a while on this series. But there's a sine wave and a cosine wave, and this is mathematical terms. But if you take the I gotta put my glasses back on. If you take the cosine wave in the top right, and you see, let's say that's worship. Okay, worship comes in, and worship has a pinnacle, and there's a experience there, and somewhere there's a transition into ministry. Maybe it's the preaching of the word in this case, or it could be some healing ministry taking place or deliverance ministry taking place. I find as a pastor that the stronger the worship experience, also the same height and strength you'll get in the ministry experience. For me as a pastor, my worship is stronger when Ben and the worship was stronger. We won't be strong at the same time, but that wave of cosine will carry into the sine wave of the preaching word or into the ministry moment, and you'll get that. So some people say, well, the music doesn't do anything for me. I just let's get to Jason, just cut through that. Or some people go, man, I come for the worship. I don't want to hear that windbag. He's just going to go on and on and on. But in my mind, that the worship experience is the combined cosine and sine wave, and it's like wave precedes waves. Yeah. And there's an intersection where if the pastor's timing's right or the ministry leader's timing right, there's an anointing that takes place in a crossover. And I think that intersectional moment is a powerful moment too.
Absolutely.
If you can find that moment. They used to call that, I'm going to get high worship here. In the Catholic tradition, if you grew up in the Catholic tradition, when they're doing the Eucharist, you ever been in a Catholic church for a wedding or something, and they'll do the Eucharist, and you'll hear the altar boy, the choir boy in the back play either pluck harps, or they'll do the what do you call those little ball sticks? They'll strike the little notes, or they'll do the little tingles, or the little. They'll have different instruments based on what church and what kind of level. But they call that, when they shake that, they call that the epiclesis. The epiclesis is what they believe is the moment where the Holy Spirit comes down and touches the bread and wine and makes it the body and blood of Christ. That's in the Catholic Church.
Okay. Yeah.
But even when I was Methodist, or even when I was in theology, they said there's still an epiclesis moment in worship where worship's happening, the word's happening, and if you can watch for it, it would be like when the Bible talked about the pools of Siloam, when the pools would stir, first one in the water got healed. Okay, so there can be an epicletical moment in the
Yes.
service.
100%.
100%.
Yeah.
It can happen in worship. It can happen in the word. And what I find sometimes is worship leaders will push past it. The epiclesis will come, and rather than release ministry to happen or continue on that path that caused that, sometimes they'll tend to try to, let's just stay at it. It's like Peter in the Transfiguration. Can we build a memorial and live up here longer? The moment Peter spoke up in the Bible in Matthew 17 and said, can we build a memorial for Jesus? For you, Moses and Elijah, can we build you a tent so we can stay up here forever? The moment he spoke, it ended. The moment he offered a human solution to put it in a box,
Interesting.
It's a
ended.
challenging thing because it's like there's not a structure, there's not a order of service you can follow to make it happen.
no, there's no,
And-
it's not.
And when it does happen,
What do you do in it?
like
Well, you gotta trust
have
ministry.
to do your best to honor what's happening and try to hear God. What do you want to do?
If it
right
was
now?
triggered by a
Because
song,
you don't want to just move past it.
No, you want to it'll dwell.
you could
Right.
give in that moment, if you think the lyrics intrigue somebody to be, you can see a movement. You could invite people to receive that ministry. Then you can hand it over, knowing that whoever's speaking is fixing to get it at a hot moment, and maybe while you've put it at the epiclesis, they're sitting there going, "Just give it to me now, because I know what to do with that." You have to have a trust between pastor, minister, whatever, or trust yourself in the leading that you see. You have to be aware of what's going on. There's an epicletical moment. To me, that's the cross of that cosign and sign. And I find you're only going to get that one time in worship service. Sometimes people try to work it back up. I just find you get one. I'm not saying you can't get a second. I'm just saying if you get the visitation, then you've met with God that morning. And I think that should be the desire that we have, is that the cosign, the worship, and the speaking moment and the other ministry, they need to work together.
Yeah, you got to be on the same page
to create a surge wave. And that's one thing I like about the bottom chart. It kind of shows as they get dialed in, they kind of come almost the lines. If you put Lucas, if you put this up on the TV screen there, it comes almost together and it becomes very highly focused. They almost disappear. And when you get out of the service, you say, well, the preaching was good and the worship was good and the ministry, I just can't tell you what it was. It was just, I was moved.
Yeah.
I experienced God. That should be our goal in every purpose, I think, is to find those moments and to be sensitive. And I clutch on them. Sometimes I overthink those moments and I fire right past it. And while I'm overthinking it, somebody else jumps in the pool. We all do it. And then sometimes next week we go, I'm going to redo what I did last week so I can get that same thing back at the same time. And I have news for you. Never happens.
And sometimes we're so focused on what we had planned that we miss what God actually wanted to do.
Or we're so organized that we go, I've got to move to, I had A, B, and C planned. God came in B, and we should move to ministry or go ahead and move to preaching. But I've got slides for C. I got to do C. I've had worship leaders. Ben's not like that, trust me. But I've had worship leaders that go, I got to go to C, and C has 3 verses, and God moved on verse 2 in the bridge, rather than just stay in that bridge or just go into spontaneous worship for a bit of time and let people live in verse 2 or go back around. I've got to go to 3 because 3's next. And if you're in a church that's wired up where you can't make a change, well, God forbid.
It's good to have that flexibility and to be able to, it really comes into being led by the Spirit of like, hey, this is a moment. It's weird because you kind of, a lot of times you just know, it's like, or you might hear that whisper of like, hey, you need to stay here at the bridge, or whatever, or hey, you need to say something, or hey, this person come up.
Or you feel the need to transition to another song. It brings another song to you and say, hey, let's go deep. I can go, hey, I see this now. Let's go deeper into the water here. Like you just feel like you feel him touching and say, let's just strip it all off here. Let's break it all off. And I know we miss that. Time gets us sometimes, distraction. Whoever you're partnering with, pastoral wise or ministry wise or worship wise, they're not in the same place because they're in their phone or they've got a crisis going on at home, and that all happens, Sure. So, but when we have those epicletical moments, I think that's where church can just do amazing things. And I hope every church in Southern Illinois can find those moments. And I know that's part of the work you guys do at Purpose House, what we do here. And I just think it's good for people to hear. There's you're not just getting up there and just playing. There's a lot of planning that goes into it.
Sure.
But I love the fact when it's all said and done, there's freedom just to worship Him.
Yeah, you plan, you give it because this is something you do to the Lord.
Come prepared.
This is you excellent to the Lord.
That's right.
But you have a plan. But I guess you can deviate because if Spirit leads, have your
Then
way.
you- then you
Have his
leave.
way. Have your way,
Well,
Lord.
well, this is good. We're going to jump back in this. We'll come back in the final one. We're going to go much deeper. I think I really enjoyed this. We'll be back with Johnny Wicoff, Southern Illinois Christian rock and worship recording artist. Got a lot of experience for a young guy. We're going to get him back, and we're going to trip him up with some tough questions. Ben's got the toughest questions for him in part 3 of this. Ben looks ready, doesn't he?
He does look ready.
He looks right here. Thanks for joining us at On The Dock. You can always find us at onthedock.org. Email us at info@onthedock.org. Check us out at Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube. That's what I forgot. I can remember YouTube. YouTube's our most important. Go to YouTube. Hit like, subscribe, all that stuff. Notify. We'll tell you all the times when we're coming. Google Play, Facebook, Roku, Rumble, Sermonet. And we'd love to hear your comments on our 5 social media partners. Go check out Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Telegram, and Getter. Subscribe, hit like, notify. Tell us all about it. We'd love to have you as one of our advertisers, as a partner or a sponsor. Sponsors are just ordinary people. Our partners are ordinary people, and sponsors are business and Christian organizations that would like to be partnered with us. Check that out at Patreon, and we'd love to have you either at Purpose House. Go check it out. What time's your service?
10 a.m.
10 a.m. Come out to Purpose House, formerly called Southern Illinois Worship Center, now Purpose House. Jason would love to have you there, and his lovely wife. They would love to have you worship there, and we would also love to have you if you want to try Community Faith Church, 6:30 on Wednesday, 10 o'clock on Sunday. COFTV.com is our website. You guys do a virtual stream?
Yes.
Yeah, we do a virtual stream. You can always check these things out, but we really want you to go. You don't let, if you're shut in, if you're locked down, if you're traveling, that's fine, but nothing other than being in the presence of God with other powerful believers, nothing substitutes that. If you can get there, get there. Whether it be Purpose House or Community Faith Church, we'd love to have you. So we are enjoying this conversation. Johnny, thank you. We're going to have a great song by Johnny right here. We're going to follow up this episode with a great worship piece by Mr. Johnny Wicoff. So hope you'll enjoy that. Ben, thank you. Lucas, thank you. We'll be back soon. I'm Pastor Troy on the dock. Enjoy this worship right now by Johnny Wicoff.
I wanna see joy turn a frown around. I wanna see hope fill an empty heart. I wanna see peace in a time of war. I wanna see love where there seems to be none. And I see lives being changed every day by your grace. And I see life in a very different way by your grace. I choose to love and see the truth of your great plan. I choose to hope and trust in you and your great plan. I'm gonna see joy turn a frown around. I'm gonna see hope fill an empty heart. I'm gonna see peace in a time of war. I'm gonna see love where there seems to be none. And I see lives being changed every day by your grace. And I see life in a very different way by your grace. I choose to love and see the truth, your great plan. I choose to hope and trust in you and your great plan. I choose to hope and trust in you and your great plan. I choose to hope and trust in you and your choose to hope and trust in you and your great plan. I choose to hope and trust in you and your great plan. I see lives being changed every day by your grace, and I see life in a very different way by your grace, and I see lives being changed every day by your grace, and I see life in a very different way by your grace. I choose to love and see the truth, your great plan. I choose to hope and trust in you and your great